CTN's own Dave Imme, always catching the best shots, as C Squared celebrating a great performance. We always bring you the net results, and Coach Keeney does it all. Rub those hands together. Sports Night is next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Yund, and I'm getting warmed up because we've got a lot of stuff to cover.
Oh my God, I'm Howie Shapiro. By the way, yeah, we can't do our usual inane bantering, and we
have
we'll
time
do a
for
little bit of it, but not
bit.
the usual shtick that we do.
Maybe not quite as much, and I'm sure the viewing audience is happy for that, right? But we do have a lot to get to. Only a week's worth of stuff to talk about, but everybody, again, because of the late start, kind of jam-packed schedules as we move through the rest of the spring season. We start with the baseball team on the road to take on Totino Grace last Tuesday. And this was an exciting one. A couple of home runs for the Cardinals and a come-from-behind 7-6 victory over the Totino Grace Eagles. Got the Cardinals above the 500 mark at 4-3 for the first time this season. But there you see it, home runs for Danny Scheller and Jared Fearing. And always feels good to get a win, especially in the conference. Well, the Cardinals were back home on Thursday and hoping to keep the momentum rolling against Andover. Huskies were a couple of games below 500 and lost 2 straight, but they were not to be underestimated. They'd had similar struggles with finding consistent offense, so this was really about which team could get the bats going. Andover starts the scoring in the second. Max Halverson with a high fly to right, and it just keeps carrying. Danny Scheller runs out of real estate as it falls just beyond the wall. 2-run shot put the Huskies in the driver's seat, 2-0. And they add to the lead with 3 straight hits to start the fifth. Mason Eckes with a hot shot through the right side. Patty Kelly trots home from third. 2 batters later, it's Nick Richards with a fly to straightaway center. Easy catch for McCullough, but no chance to get Anthony Pardo, who tags and scores from third. Huskies pulling away up 4-0. Cardinals trying to rally in the 6th. Bases loaded with 1 out. Matthew Stahlberger grounds to short, but it's bobbled, and everybody is safe. Cardinals on the board. That's as close as it would get. They fall to Andover 4-1, the final. And it was just another case of just couldn't get the bats going.
Yeah, I mean, pitching was fine. It's just they could not get hits when they needed to, especially timely hits in that 6th inning. And obviously we were there. And it's something that I know that they're trying to work on and get those bats going as well.
Well, and it's been, kind of feast or famine on the offensive side for this team. When they get the bats going, they win ball games. When they don't, they tend to come up just short. A little bit of both against Spring Lake Park on Friday, Cinco de Mayo, as they hosted Spring Lake Park. They did get 4 runs, but that wasn't quite enough. They lose to the Panthers by a 6-4 score. Jared Fearing went 3 for 4 with a double, a stolen base, couple of RBIs, scored a run. Jaden Kopp had a couple of hits, scored a run. Danny Scheller drove one in. But at the end of the day, Tommy Dutton would suffer the loss in 5 innings of work. And the Cardinals drop right back below the 500 mark at 4-5. And they were actually out at Rogers today, Tuesday. They'll be at Elk River on Thursday. And then they host Rochester Mayo on Friday evening over at Wintercrest. And Howie?
We'll be there. Yeah, Fearing continued hitting well. He's hitting well this season.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll talk a little softball now.
Should.
Well, the Cardinals were back home on Thursday, but facing an even tougher test the second.
Oh, we got to talk about something that I missed in the teleprompter.
Okay. We'll go back.
They started against Totino Grace last Tuesday and lost that one 12-4. Ryan Mellum went 2 for 4 with a double. Chloe Christie had a couple of stolen bases, scored a couple of times, but the Cardinals fall to 0-6 with the 12-4 loss.
Hey, now let's talk softball.
Now.
Well, the Cardinals were back home on Thursday, but facing an even tougher test, the second-place Andover Huskies. The Huskies were coming off a loss to Blaine and looking to bounce back against the struggling Cards. Andover is averaging more than 5 runs per game. They made a statement from the start, never let the Cardinals catch up. First batter of the ball game gets it started with a bang. Maya Johnson pounds it to left, and this one's not coming back. Andover on the board, but they were just getting started. We're still in that first. 1 out for Haley Dunleavy, and she leaves no doubt on a shot to left. It's off baseball field's fence. It's Dunleavy's turn to get the hat, but but she didn't get to keep it. Unfortunately for Andover, that was enough run support for the Huskies starter, Kaylin Polson. She gave up just one hit and struck out 10 batters with just one walk in 4 innings. But we talked about they weren't done. Huskies showing off their power, top of the 6th. It's Natalie Ludi going deep to left center. This is a 2-run shot. Andover had 4 home runs in the game on their way to a 10-0 win.
Yeah, it's all. I think all sports are fun. That's what it's about. But it's more fun when everybody gets going.
Yes.
And I like the little tradition the Huskies have of giving the home run hitter the golden cowboy hat. I'm not sure where that comes from, but I'm guessing the first girl to hit it was thinking, all right, I got the hat, I get to keep it. You didn't get to even keep it for the whole first inning.
Exactly.
Well, the softball team has been very, very busy over the last week. On Friday, they went to Centennial, and they got the bats going. They put up 7 runs. Chloe Christie went 3 for 4 with a couple of doubles, a stolen base, scored 3 times. Maya Ruddy was 2 for 3, drove in a run and scored one as well. But Centennial put up 12, so they lose 12-7. Then on Saturday, they went to Becker for the Becker Invitational. They started against the host Bulldogs and lost that one 9-1. Ryan Mellum again 2 for 3 with a double. Abby Semensky was 1 for 3, drove in the only run of the day for the Cardinals. Then they took on Hibbing, and again, a case where they got the bats going, but it just wasn't enough. They scored 8 against Hibbing, but come up short 11-8. Tyra Pavaseth and Ryan Mellum, as well as Layla Meyer, all went 2 for 3. Chloe Christie 2 for 5, and Semensky had a couple of RBIs in her day on going 1 for 3. Then against Cloquet, the Cardinals lose the last one of the day, 5-1. Schmidt, Meyer, Christie, and Mellum had the hits for the Cardinals, but that was it, those 4 hits. Well, the Cardinals open play this week with a visit from Champlin Park Rebels on Monday. The Rebels were coming in strong. They'd won 4 of their previous 5, and they were averaging almost 8 runs per game during that stretch. They'd also allowed just 6 runs in those 4 wins, so they would definitely be a tough test for the Cardinals. They start the scoring in the top of the first. Ava Parent with a liner just over the head of Chloe Christie at short. That allows Taylor Zahalka to score from second. RBI just the beginning for Champlin Park. Next batter is Amanda Cottsmith. She bloops it into short left field. Deep enough, though, for both runners to score. Back-to-back doubles makes it 3-0. They add one more for a 4-run lead after 1. It was 9-0 in the 5th. Bases loaded, nobody out for Zahalka, and she hammers it to the gap in left center. That's going to clear the bases. Rebels cruise to a 13-0 win over the Cardinals. And it's been a tough go.
It has. Champlin Park was really impressive. I mean, we talked about during the game yesterday, the odd innings were their favorites because they scored all their runs in the first, third, and fifth. But you're right, they're struggling, and they didn't hit the ball. I think they just had one hit yesterday, and they're struggling. But you're right, there are some times where they're scoring some runs. Their opponents just happen to be scoring more.
They've had they came in with their pitchers already nicked up, and now Maya Ruddy also added to that injury list, so that doesn't make things any easier. But you won't find these Cardinals making excuses. They keep their chin up. They keep going. They're at Rogers on Tuesday this week, at Elk River on Thursday, and then they host Minnehaha Academy on Friday. We want to talk about some good news. You talk about the Cardinal tennis team. They are having a phenomenal season, and it's almost over. I mean, we're entering the last week of the regular season, and we'll talk more about their records and stuff as we go forward. But let's get you caught up. Last Tuesday, they went over to Champlin Park, and they won a tight one, 4-3 over the Rebels. Dylan Anderson, the lone singles winner at fourth singles, and I think this is the only time in a tight match where they've gotten 3 wins from all 3 doubles spots, but that's huge. for the Cardinals, especially to gain some confidence moving forward. And also another 4-3 victory is always nice to see. And then on Thursday, they hosted Andover and won by that same 4-3 score. And this one, they shook it up a little bit. They moved Sam Murillo down to the doubles lineup. He and Jensvold teamed up at first doubles, won 6-love, 6-love. Ryan held his first ever singles match, and he comes out to be the winner. It came down to him as the last one. It was 3-3. They were in the third set. You can see the score. He lost the first one, 1-6, but came back a 7-6 winner in set 2. And then he closed it out, got the Cardinals the win with a 6-2 win in the third set. And the pressure was on by that point because he knew everybody else was done. They were the only court left going, and he finished off the win, got his team the win. They are now 5-0 in matches decided by one.
We talk about that all the time. We talked about last year, and actually that record was the opposite form.
Almost exactly.
Yeah, and so now they're coming in, and I believe they're 10-2 coming into their next match. Pretty good season for the tennis squad, and I know Coach Stork been really happy with his squad.
Oh, that alone, just that 5-0 on 4-3 matches is huge.
Yes.
I mean, that's the difference between, as you mentioned, 10-2 or being 5-7.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, it's
love to see it.
Huge.
Well, the Cardinals are right back on the court Friday, celebrating Cinco de Mayo by hosting the Armstrong Falcons. The Cardinals have been looking for their 7th straight victory and hoping they could do it in a little more convincing fashion. As happy as they are about winning all of their one-point matches, they also wanted a few more statement wins. Sam Murillo, who returned to the singles lineup, definitely gives them a lot of power at the top. Murillo controlled the action against Armstrong, running his opponent all over the court on his way to a 6-1, 6-1 win. Ryder Held had a little more difficult time at second singles. Good baseline volley going on this point from both sides. Ryder staying patient until the Falcons player sends it a little long, but Held couldn't hold on. He falls 1-6, 3-6. Well, his younger brother turned in the most dominant performance of the day. This ace for Cooper Held helped him to a 6-0, 6-1 win at third singles. Well, the Cardinals, they thrive on flexibility, and Joe Savelli's first singles match of the season shows why he kept control of 4 singles on his way to a 6-4, 6-3 win, as the Cards take 3 of 4 singles matches. With Savelli playing singles, Dylan Anderson joined Cal Jensvold on the first doubles court. They left little doubt against Armstrong, storming to a 6-1, 6-1 win. Blake DeGroat serving at second doubles, and with Will Wagner, has that quick reflexes at the net, gets Coon Rapids the point. DeGroat and Wagner on their way to a 6-1, 6-3 win. And then the fourth doubles team of Peyton Lett and Levi Severson helps the Cardinals finish strong. Their 6-0, 6-2 victory helps the Cardinals to a 6-1 win over the Falcons.
Yeah, and
avoided that 4-3.
Yeah, well, I mean, they love to see the 5-2 and 6-1 wins too.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, nothing really beats a 4-3 victory, especially in the conference, which a lot of those have been. And then on Saturday, they were in Elk River for a quad, and they beat Monticello by that 6-1 score. Elk River, I think they're ranked top 10. So not a loss you hang your head about, losing 5-2. And then finished it off with another 5-2 win over Forest Lake. And yeah, 13-3.
It's an impressive record.
As they enter play this week. And there you see some of the strong performances. Joe Savelli went 3-0, played one at fourth singles, a couple at second doubles. Cooper Held also played a little on both courts and also finished 3-0, as did Ryder Held. Sam Murillo finished 2-1 at first singles, losing to the Elk River top singles player, and that one was relatively tight. So just a fantastic year, and the ride isn't quite over. They're at Totino today, and then tomorrow's match should be a Northwest Suburban Conference crossover match that is yet to be decided. And then they will close it out with hosting 2 triangulars. On Friday, they host Rosemount and St. Cloud Tech, and then on Saturday, it's Lakeville South and Park High School. So 6 matches in 4 days to close out the regular season. Well, in 5 days, I suppose.
But still, a lot of tennis.
Still, yeah, absolutely. Well, the track team, as we talk about, most of the regular season, they're just out there competing and not really keeping score so much, but they can get an idea of what they have and what they're up against. Well, on Tuesday last week, they were over in Blaine for the Blaine Invitational, and this one was a scored event, and both boys and girls teams should be pretty happy with how they performed. There you see it, 4th place for the boys. Jackson Smith, 1st place in the 110 hurdles, in the high jump. Christopher Dean right behind him, really in both of those events, but finished 2nd place in the high jump. Barker had a 2nd place finish in the pole vault. Aloysius Neapan was 2nd place in the long jump. I think it's Edward Tabla that finished 2nd in the triple jump, but it may have been Elijah. They're both on the squad. Yeah. Moore was 4th place in the 300-meter hurdles. There you see Dean also getting up there in the 400-meter dash. Peyton Martinek, 5th place in the 1 mile and 7th place in the half-mile event. On the girls' side, Michaela D'Souza's name should get used to it because she gets things done. This is a girl that I think each of the last 2 years has finished 3rd place in the section, just barely missing state tournament, especially in those 100 and 200 meter dashes. I think she's fired up to change that this year as a senior. She finished 1st in the long jump and the 200 meters. She finished 2nd in the 100 meter. Ruby Demmer, just an 8th grader, set the pace in the 2 mile run, the 3200. Lukic was 2nd in the pole vault. Horton was 5th in the triple jump. Some good efforts on the in the field events as well. They got a 5th place finish in discus. Naipaul Jock, and we're going to talk more about her in just a moment, but that is one of the greatest stories so far, I think. Now, and I'm, but I think there are a lot of great storylines out of the track and field team.
They really are.
But, coming into the season, you have Kennedy Martinson as a senior. As a freshman, her season taken away from her. Yep. Has gone to state in. She made it in both hurdles events as a sophomore, both hurdle events and a pole vault qualifier as a junior. Coming into this season, you're thinking, what can she do? Well, she's been nicked up. Hasn't been able to compete. She had a foot injury, but they found Naipaul Jock as a junior, and we'll talk about her in just a minute. She is showing that, no problem. I gotcha. Until you come back, we gotcha.
It's just the next person up. We always talked about that, and obviously she's doing well.
Yeah. Well, the track and field team's showing at Blaine was impressive, but the featured event for the track and field teams last week was definitely the inaugural Coon Rapids Invitational. On Friday, Cardinals hosted a 6-team meet that featured a couple of section rivals as well as a couple of other very tough teams. It was a great way to see how they're stacking up now a little more than midway through the season. We start with the boys' 100-meter dash, and Kaijon Cummings-Coleman just takes off and leaves the field in his dust. C-squared wins in 11.26 seconds, 3 cards finished in the top 6. Cards depth in sprints is making the relay teams very tough. 4x2 is Joseph Haug, Michael Dick, and then seniors Reggie Davis and Yaya Sibide, and they put on a show. It's not even close at the end. Cardinals win by more than 4.5 seconds. Hurdles, another strength. Jackson Smith, Christopher Dean, way out in front of the rest of the hurdles. Win 110. Smith wins in 15.36. And Dean right behind him. 4x100 relay now in another clinic put on by the Cardinals. Sean Sullivan got the start. Yaya Sibide and Reggie Davis handled the middle legs. KCC, the anchor, cruising to the win in 43.62 seconds. Blue ribbons just keep coming for the home team. Jerry Freeman holding off a late charge at the end of the 400-meter dash. He takes first in 53.16 seconds. Another relay, another first-place finish for the Cards. The 4x4 team made up of Elijah Tablet, Jarrett Moore, Boston Tyler, and Jerry Freeman in a close race at the end, but still able to come out on top. They get to the tape in 3 minutes, 41.11 seconds. Sean Sullivan grabbing another first-place finish in the long jump, flying 19 feet 4 inches. The Cardinals had 3 of the top 5 finishers in the long jump. Another stellar performance from the field events comes from Logan Barker in the pole vault, up and over at 11 feet, good enough for a second-place finish. Let's take a look at some of the other outstanding performances. Again, Smith and Dean finished 1-2 in the 110-meter hurdles and the 310-meter hurdles. And then look what happens in the high jump. They switched spots with Dean taking first and Smith taking second, and both clearing the bar at 6'2". Peyton Martinek was third place in the 800-meter. Reggie Davis was third place in the 200-meter dash, with Haugreit behind him in fourth, and Tyler finishing third place in the 400-meter dash. Robinson fourth place in the 400-meter dash. And in the 400-meter dash, they actually finished third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. That's pretty impressive. Yaya Sibide had a fourth-place finish in the 100-meter, and Sean Sullivan was in sixth place, as we talked about during the graphics there. For 3 of the top 6, pretty impressive.
There are a lot of athletes, really good athletes on this squad. The girls too as well, but you know, you look at some of these guys. Kaijan Cummings Coleman, boy, is he fast. I mean, you can see it on that film. He just runs away from the competition.
Well, and Smith and Dean, I think, are going to be the big ones to watch come section time for sure. But Kaijan is as well. Well, the girls, as you mentioned, also had a strong showing at the Invitational on Friday. Got some video of them as well, and we talked about her before. Senior captain Michaela D'Souza, phenomenal in all her events. This is the end of the 100-meter dash, way ahead of the pack, winning 12.89. Sprints and sprint relays, a strength for the Lady Cardinals as well. They flex their muscle at the invite. 4x2 relay, Solange Barkin, Sophia Grenier, Bailey Rao, and Marvina Williams team up for the event. They run away with the win, all alone at the finish line, a time of 1:53.55. And there, I mentioned it, 2-time state qualifier out of the mix, no problem. Nybal Jock won both distances on Friday, and both with plenty of room to spare. Another relay race, another dominant performance from the home squad. Cardinals in the center lane and for the 4x1, and it suits them. Similar team to the 4x1 with Barkin, Williams, and Rao, but it's Michaela D'Souza finishing it up. But at the end, 51.84 seconds is their winning time. Cardinals also got some gold medal performances in the field events. Michelle Lukic won the pole vault and a jump off, clearing the bar at 9 feet flat. If we haven't seen enough of her already, how about Michaela D'Souza grabbing another blue ribbon in the long jump? 17 feet 7 inches. That's more than 1.5 feet in front of second place.
I mean, that's incredible. It's just phenomenal. She's such a good athlete.
And there's a look at some of those other great performances. We saw Jock in the 110-meter hurdles. There she is, winning the 300-meter hurdles as well. Wallace Hopkins was 4th place in the shot put with a shot of 29 feet 11 inches. Marvina Williams, 5th place in the 100-meter dash. Barkin, 5th place in the 200-meter dash. And then we put their names again right below that. But just phenomenal all over the field. You see the numbers up there. Ruby Demmer, again, you know, the 1 mile run, she finished in 7th place. She's just an 8th grader. Harrington, another story too. Harrington's just a sophomore.
Right.
And while, again, she's the 3rd deep for this team once Kennedy comes back, and she's finishing 5th and 7th in the 2 different distances.
I mean, again, just so impressive, both these teams, boys and girls, just having a really nice season, and they're showing it in their times.
True Team was being held this afternoon out in Rogers. We'll have the results for you on that next week. They're in a quad at Armstrong next Monday. Okay, where do we go from here? Boys golf. Just one event for the boys golf team last week. It was a 2-day event over at Majestic Oaks, the Blaine Invitational, held Friday and Saturday. Caleb King on Friday turned in one of the best, actually the best round for a Cardinal golfer so far this spring with a 76. He had an 83 on, or a 78 rather, an 83 on Saturday. Oscar Berg, another one that's just really starting to find a good rhythm. I texted back and forth with Coach Tom Bruggers over the weekend, and you know, talking about you know, when you see they put 4 scores up in the 80s or 5 scores up in the 80s, that's fantastic.
That's impressive.
You know, there are obviously there's some teams out there that have 2-3 guys that are hitting within a couple of strokes of par. you don't get that good
Nope.
overnight.
No,
and,
definitely not.
And the Cardinals would love to have a couple of scratch golfers, but that's just never been the case.
Right.
So to have the consistency from 3 to 4 guys who can consistently get scores in the 80s, that's going to dramatically help their team score, and it's going to maybe spark a little more interest and a little more competition amongst those guys to continue to get better to make sure they can keep their spot on the team. Couple of events this week for the boys golf team. They are at Keller on Wednesday this week, and then next Tuesday they're at Loggers Trail. Those are the last 2 regular season tournaments for the Northwest Suburban Conference. After that, it will be the conference tournament, which is, as always, held at the gem of Coon Rapids, Bunker Hills. Girls golf team busy last week as well. On Tuesday, they were when we were doing the show, they were over at Edinburgh. We didn't have complete results for this event. The boys actually did have an event on Tuesday last week also, but we had those in time for our show last Tuesday. So, but on Tuesday, they were over at Edinburgh taking on the Rebels. Shot a 265 to the Rebels 233. Hill shot a 63 as well as Meyer. Those were the low round for the Cardinals. And you talk about it, this consistency. And Eleanor Defoe, their captain and their scoring leader in just about every event so far, not available for the event against Champlain Park. But it gives the other girls a chance to step up and play that leadership role.
Well, it really does. And, the nice thing about it is the weather has been so cooperative. And they're so fortunate because, obviously, this time of year, you never know what the weather was.
Yeah, I was going to say, once we finally got rid of the snow, it really hasn't rained that much. We have not seen a lot of rain, but, yeah, we're going to knock on wood on that one.
Well, the girls were back on the course on Wednesday last week, this time facing the Blaine Bengals over at Majestic Oak. Getting Captain Eleanor Defoe back in the lineup definitely helps, but all the Cardinals are really starting to show some consistency, solid strokes out of the course. This spring season is way too short to dramatic to get improvements, obviously. But little wins help those teams continue to go down. An absolutely gorgeous day to get out and hit the links, and Eleanor Defoe got into the swing of things beautifully as well. She put up one of her best scores of the season so far against Blaine. A little tap in right here on her way to a 51 for the day. Well, her classmate Anna Kelly playing with Defoe in that group, her day wasn't quite as clean as Eleanor's, but still putting up a solid score. Beautiful shot out of the sand on this one. Gives herself a chance for par. Kelly finishes with a 62 for the day. Low 60s, the kind of sweet spot coming up here for the lineup right now. Sophia Meyer is looking pretty strong off the tee. She looks just as confident on the green. She's going to hole out here on her way to a 63. Up next, we have Jade Dawson, great form off the tee. And then check out her putt coming up. Perfectly reads the break. Maybe surprises herself as well, but staying cool. It's exactly what she's meant to do on her way to a 62. Lacey Lillidahl had her game working at Majestic as well. She put up her best round of the season with a 56. Second on the team, the Cardinals finished with 231 as a squad. Good score, but well behind Blaine, 192.
And I've just got, I just got to say, I love doing this show with you, Shapiro, and you make it fun. But
I'm not sure how to take that. So we don't have enough time to explain to go into that sentence.
But it was, I think it was, just trying to remember how I wrote it. Was it Meyer that I said great form? The reason I said that is because as I was writing it, I happened to pause the video right at the top of her backswing, and I'm telling you, her front arm was completely straight.
Yep.
Her back arm at almost a perfect 90-degree angle, and the club was almost perfectly parallel to the ground. It was like, wow, that's nice.
I know you were a little jealous. You wish you could have hit a shot like that.
My form is not anything like that. I swing a golf club kind of like an unhinged door.
Yeah.
It's
plus it's squeaky.
Yeah, and if I make contact, it's a rarity. I make contact. If I make clean contact, it's a rarity. On Friday, they were up in Cambridge, Isani for the Purple Hawk Invite. Cardinals finished 7th with a 456. First 18-hole round of the season for the Lady Cardinals. Eleanor Defoe, a 91. Hill shot a 112, Meyer a 126, Davis a 127, and Sophia Meyer came in with a 132. Girls golf over taking on Maple Grove at Bunker Hills this afternoon. We'll have those results for you next week. They will be at Centennial on Thursday. Well, we talked about last day. We're moving on to boys lacrosse.
We are.
We did the show on Tuesday last week. They started with a very tough loss to Maple Grove. But after that loss to Maple Grove to start the week, boys lacrosse team was looking to bounce back against Champlin Park on Wednesday. Rebels were coming in off of 2 straight losses and had fallen a couple of games below 500. Both teams were hungry for a win, looking to get back on track midway through the season. Catbirds take advantage of the early possession and get the scoring started. Trent Burke moves it across to Nolan Hazelwood. He fires it home from long range, puts SLPCR on the board. It's a seesaw battle in the first. Henry Leff on the run, able to draw the defense, drop it down to Ryan Hexham all along out front. He gives the Catbirds a 2-1 lead. And the ride continues into the second quarter. Ethan Ossie unleashes one from way out. He finds the back of the net, gives his team the lead once more, now at 4-3. Unfortunately, the Rebels grab the possession and carry the momentum the rest of the way. Nice pass out front to find Austin Johnson. He turns and scores. Champlin Park with 4 straight goals to take a 7-4 lead at the half. And they lock down on defense and keep firing on offense in the second. Jared Zabel with one of his 3 goals in the game. Rebels outscore the Catbirds 6-0 in the second half on their way to a 13-4 win.
Yeah, I did that game with Jeremy Smith and that match with Jeremy, and give credit to Champlin Park. They're really good, and they did a really nice job of setting up their offense. And like you said, Cardinals kept it close early, but Champlin did a really nice job of opening up. And to talk about their defense played exceptional in that game.
Well, and again, in lacrosse, it's all about possession and momentum, and if you can carry both, you're very hard to beat. And the Cardinals just haven't, or Catbirds have not seen a lot of games where they've been able to hold on to that momentum and the possession for huge stretches. They started this week with a loss. They got 6 against Forest Lake, but came up short to the Rangers 12.
Well, last night's game is the first of 5 straight on the road for the Catbirds before finishing the regular season at home. They're a young team, but they have a lot of new recruits who are bringing solid skills and a lot of great energy. They're hoping for a strong finish, and they know this season's end is still just the beginning.
And I think that we're setting a good foundation for the next few years to come.
The Catbirds knew this season might be a challenge. They lost a huge senior class that included the bulk of their varsity team, but the returning veterans made sure they wouldn't be shorthanded from the start.
A lot of new players came out this year. It was a big recruiting effort from a lot of our guys. So getting a lot of new players involved in the sport was huge, got our numbers way up, so we were able to sufficiently staff 2 teams.
The Catbirds focused much of their recruiting efforts on athletes from other sports who are looking for something in the off-season. And they're sure the skills the new guys bring will be a huge benefit for the team.
I think football kids are bringing a lot of physicality, so we have some depots out there now that we didn't have at the end of last season. And then a couple of the hockey kids we have, speed, they can clear the ball really well.
While the new additions bring a fair amount of athletic ability, they have a lot to learn about lacrosse. The rules and the strategy can be somewhat hard to grasp, but there's plenty to work on before they really need to worry too much about that.
We got to really hammer those fundamentals, and that's what we've been doing during practice as time has been going on. So we've been spending at least an hour a day on fundamentals, and that's what we really need to work on because that's what brings us down in games.
The Catbirds captains all talked about how impressed they've been with the progress they've seen. Guys come in eager to learn and willing to work hard, and it's paying off every time they take the field.
The more we've gotten outside, the more experience we've gotten in games. I think people are getting more confident. I think they're getting a lot better, and it's great to see improvement.
There's still a long way to go, and the Catbirds know they'll see some really tough competition along the way. But at the same time, they've got to stay focused and not dwell on the past.
Don't worry about messing up. Just keep going 100% through the drill, through in game. Forget about that last missed something. It doesn't matter. And get back.
What matters most is the team continues to move forward. They've come a long way already, and if they keep developing the way they have, who knows what they could achieve at the end.
Just really look forward to the energy that the players bring on game days, and I really look forward to them showing me what they've learned, because they all have the skills. They've all shown it time and time again. It's all about executing it at the right time.
Well, the right time is quickly approaching.
Yes.
For certain. As you mentioned, just a handful of games remaining. They're at Rogers on Wednesday and at Andover next Tuesday. This road stretch will be a definite test. Girls lacrosse team continues to get through their season. It's not gone too well their last two games, both on the wrong end of a 19-0 score to Maple Grove last Wednesday, and then to Anoka on Monday this week. They're at Elk River Zimmerman on Wednesday and at Rogers next Monday. But we are way past being out of time. We do have a lot coming up for you. Boys lacrosse against Rogers coming up here on Wednesday. Baseball against Rochester Mayo under the lights at Wintercrest on Friday evening. And then softball on Tuesday next week against the Blaine Bengals. But that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Night. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us and continuing to support everything we do here at CTN for the entire crew, including Steve Erickson on the teleprompter and my partner Howie Shapiro. I'm Joe Young. Say goodnight.